Alright everybody, what's going on? This video I'm going to try to keep nice and short. I know a lot of them have gotten quite lengthy. I'm just going to cut right to the chase here and not dilly-dally around. I'm going to show you guys the type of software to use. There's many different types as always. And how to overclock your graphics display driver. Now it's going to be a little different per whatever graphics card you have in your computer, but the idea is going to be basically the same. You'll end up needing to do some research to try to find the clock specs to overclock your graphics card too. Otherwise, you're just blindly shooting in the dark. Which you can achieve it that way, but it takes forever. Trouble and error and crashing and stuff like that. So I did some research and found my best clock frequencies online and basically just started doing things like that with them. So the first thing you're going to want to do is come to Google, type in MSI Afterburner. You're going to go to Afterburner MSI. You're going to download this. I've already downloaded it and gotten it installed, but you download it and just simply install it to your computer wherever you'd like. And that's this program right here, MSI Afterburner. Now, once you install the program, first thing you're going to want to do is go into settings here. Under general, compatibility properties, you're going to want to enable all but force constant voltage. You really don't want to force constant voltage. And I'm not even going to get into that right now. Just don't select it. Leave this as user mode and this is standard MSI. Don't mess with those. But make sure you enable hardware control and monitoring, low-level I/O driver, low-level hardware access interface, restore settings after suspended mode, unlock voltage control, and unlock voltage monitoring. Now, if you're running an AMD graphics display driver Radeon, underneath here, you would have the ability to select these options as well. Now, I have overclocked on here with an AMD graphics display driver as well, and you can extend official overclocking limits. You can basically the overclocking modes, you can change it to where the graphics card is running at full capacity 100% at all times. It doesn't idle down. Those are some of the different settings in here, but I can't even show them to you because I have an NVIDIA display driver, so it doesn't even give me the options. Your fans, I set mine at 100%. I don't let it do automatic because it's a little noisier, I'm not going to lie, but it just keeps your processors much cooler on the GPU, on the graphics display card. Monitoring here, don't really worry about any of this stuff. On-screen display, we don't need to worry about that. Benchmarking, no. Screen capture, video capture, profiles, user interface. Temperature format, I always just leave it in Celsius. I mean, yeah, we can all read Fahrenheit better, but computer temperatures, any research you're doing or anything ever talks in Celsius, so you might as well get used to it. And a 12-hour format. Now, from there, your core voltage will unlock like mine is displayed here. And some graphics display drivers, not all, have power limit unlocked and temp limits and things like that. This graphics display driver has those unlocked. Some may not. I'm hoping you have those unlocked on your cards or your cards are capable of it. Because if they're not, then you don't stand a very good chance at overclocking. And the reason I say that is because if you overclock your graphics display driver or computer, then whatever you're overclocking, you have to give it more power. It needs more power. It's going to want to draw more power, and if you don't supply it with that power and tell it to turn it up a little bit, then you're going to be you're going to have an unstable computer, and your clock frequencies, your overclocking, none of it's going to work, and you'll barely be able to get any overclocking out of it. So the core voltage percentage, I put it at 20. You can maybe push it a little bit farther, but 20 seems to be a good one to start at. It's not going to hurt your card in any way, shape, or form. I turned my power limit all the way up to 120%, and that ties in the temp limit, so it does increase what the temperature can go up to on the card, which 88 degrees Celsius is pushing about 200 degrees Fahrenheit, so that's pretty toasty. Anyway, your core clock here. Now, there's some things here that I yet still It's not that I don't understand them, I just don't know exactly how to explain them to you guys. Basically, the core clock megahertz, this is just what I increased it by, plus 165 megahertz. And then up here it shows you it's sitting at 300 megahertz, but that's on idle. See, my graphics display driver idles down, so when it's not being used, like right now, it's just sitting on low end. So you don't really know what your maximum is here or here on your memory megahertz, even though you overclock it. You don't know what your maximums are until you get running the card. And once you get running the display drivers on the card in a graphical program or a benchmark system, then those will increase, temperatures will increase, and you'll see what you're running it at. I got these numbers specifically, you know, plus 165 and plus 1100 off the internet. Now, people were bouncing around from anywhere from 150 on my graphics card up to 190. And some people are pushing this up to about as far as 1300 megahertz. I found it to run smoothly at these numbers for my computer. It's a little toasty where my computer's at in my room, so it tends to run a little hotter. That being said, when this gets under full load, it gets up there pretty good, about 75, 76 degrees Celsius. And I don't want it going any higher than that, even though it can go up to 88. You don't want to burn your card up. So I'll show you how that works. Over here, we've got something known as superposition benchmark. Now, I'm also going to show you this online because when you're overclocking your graphics card, you want to have a benchmark software. And this is a free piece of software, but you really want to have it. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to test your graphics card thoroughly and bench test it and see if your overclocking frequencies are going to run stable or not. The only way you'll know is once you start playing a game or using your graphics driver and then all of a sudden it crashes on you because you're not stable. So you want a benchmark software. So superposition benchmark. Go to the website here and it's a free download. It's 1.2 gigs. 2017, don't let that bother you though. It runs extremely high in graphics. Download that, get it installed, just like the MSI Afterburner. And once it's installed, you open it up right here, and here we are. Now you've got performance, stress, and VR ready. The only one I mess with is performance. Stress you can dink with if you want to. I don't do it, so I don't know much about it. Performance, preset, put it on high, DirectX 928, and it puts all that stuff on high. It shows you how much of your VRAM is being used. Not really much of my video memory is being used, but that doesn't really matter so much when it's going to be using my clock limits and all that kind of stuff. So once I get this running, it's going to show you the clock limits. I'll show you here. Now you see some of those are going up now and see how they're spiking up. But they're still not at full capacity, and the reason why is because I don't actually have the program open. See, when the program's not actually open on your desktop, it's not really running your graphics driver all that much. Oh, and it actually got out of the program. So we're going to run it again here. It doesn't like you alt-tabbing out of the program when it's trying to run its benchmark. I was trying to show you clock frequencies on there, but they tell you on here as well. I don't have a mouse right now because it's benchmarking, but if you look up in the right hand corner of the screen, shows your graphics display driver. Then underneath it, if you can read that or not, it shows your graphics, which is your core clock is what that means, is running at 2100 megahertz right now. It just dropped to 2085, but it's basically and the utilization of it, the card is at 98%, so it's running pretty much full tilt. The memory is at 8100 megahertz. So basically, when this card was stock frequencies, the graphics or core megahertz was 1605, and the memory was about 7000 megahertz. So I've increased it all quite a bit, and we're just running a benchmark here. I'm actually going to let this run and just to be able to show you guys what it looks like kind of in the end. So bear with me for just a minute here. You'll see up there, again to the right, it shows something under the FPS. It shows something called scene. scene 7 out of 17. So there's 17 scenes. Now we're on the 8th one. And once it gets through 17 scenes, then the benchmarking is completed. Now see, my temperature on my card is already up to 64 degrees Celsius, and it's bouncing upwards like it, and now it's up to 65, and that'll just keep climbing. Even with my fans on at 100%, the temperature's just going to keep climbing because it's using your card to the max. I mean, this is pushing your card, and I mean, you can look at it as well. I've got it, the preset to this benchmarking was high. The setting's high. And look how crazy the graphics are. Now, you put it on extreme and stuff, they go even further into it with every little detail. And it really benchmarks and stresses your computer. Lets you know what it's capable of. But the point of this benchmarking is if you can get through an entire benchmarking session, 17 scenes or however many you may have, depending upon the benchmark, if you can get through that, and everything runs fine, then, you know, more than likely you have a stable overclock. I've run this a couple of times now since overclocking it. Like I said, I actually spent a couple of hours doing this just because of the research it took. That'll take you the longest. The thing that will take you the longest is doing research on your specific graphics display card and finding out the clock frequencies that others have messed around with online. That's the thing, you learn from other people's mistakes. Go online, look at some of the clock frequencies that they've tried with your graphics card. Start a little bit below that, and then start increasing and see if you can get to those clock speeds. Every card is different. Doesn't matter if you have the same card as me or not, it's still a different card. They're all going to overclock differently. Every time, it doesn't matter. So the benchmark is complete, and it shows your results here, 14901. One last thing I'm going to show you here before we cut this video is if you go to compare results, you can go here and look at all kinds of other people's benchmarks. And it's kind of fun to be able to compare your number. Now, I have a decent little computer, but my number was 14901. We got to put it on the high settings here. The highest ranking one in the world right now on high settings, which I just ran, is 59,590. I got 14,901. But, I mean, you can look at what they're running, their GPU clock frequencies and everything like that. This guy is running a GeForce RTX 4090. So something I actually like to do is come over here and enter in the graphics card that I have. And then, now under hardware here, all the graphics cards are 2070 Supers, identical to mine. Different manufacturers, of course, but all the TU104, all the Supers. And as you can see, the highest score here now with this graphics card is a 17168. I got a 14901. Now, what we can do is we can take a look. See right here? GPU memory clock, he's got his clock at 8,419 megahertz. I've got mine at 8,100. So he's got his overclocked further than mine. And on the core clock as well, I'm at about 2,100 megahertz. He's at 2,235. Same card, but he was just able to push it a little bit more. And his card, even at those speeds, only maxes out at 57 degrees Celsius, where mine maxed out at 69 degrees Celsius. So I don't have the room to really increase much farther. So I like to get down here, though, like I said, and kind of compare with what I had, 14901, 14922, so 14859. So mine was a little bit higher than this. GPU memory clock, 8,250 megahertz. It's a little bit higher than me still. But his core clock is about 45 megahertz slower than mine. And the core clock usually makes the biggest difference in overclocking as far as performance increase. You still want to overclock your memory, like I was showing you, but the core clock is what usually packs the most punch. So anyway, that was just a quick rundown of what I wanted to show you guys. MSI Afterburner Superposition Benchmark, and tailor it to the needs of your graphics display driver. Any questions, feel free to drop a line. And we'll catch you all next time. Peace.